I hope everyone had a good time, had some good food with our Eater Young Gun chefs and some good drink as well. There'll be plenty more of that. We try to mix up the Vox Media vibe here. We got a little bit of Eater to pair with our Recode, and hopefully you really enjoyed it. I wanted to thank everyone for coming. I'm Jim Bankoff. I'm the CEO of Vox Media, the parent company of Code Media. And yeah, give it up for Vox Media. Hopefully you enjoyed our afternoon sessions. They were amazing. The evening sessions tend to get really lively, so I think you'll enjoy those as well. And then tomorrow we'll have a great day for you as well. So thank you so much for coming here. This is I love all of our Code conferences. I am a media person. I am a media nerd, and I live and eat and breathe media. So this is always my favorite, although I love them all equally, conference. What's really cool about it for me is not only the great programming and journalism that you see on stage here, but the opportunity to hang out together. It's a small enough conference, and everyone is as passionate about media as I am. And you know, every year I come up and I say, just when you think accelerate anymore, it just gets faster and faster and faster, and the issues get more complex. And that's why it's so important that we have this opportunity not only to learn from the people who are doing such great things on stage, but from all of you who are doing such incredible things too. So this community that we're building is vibrant. We're grateful that you're here to be part of it. Of course, it is led by the outstanding journalist team at Recode, and that team is led by Swisher and Peter Kafka. I want to thank them for putting this all together. They are the team and their leadership, and that of Dan Fromer, who is our editor-in-chief. They are really the best in the business, and there's no one better than Recode and that team at leading us through these changes and starting this conversation that we're having here today. So without further ado, I want to say I'm really lucky because I get to hang out with them a lot, and please take advantage of your time here to make sure that you get some time with them. But one of the best parts of my job is getting text messages from Swisher at all hours of the day and all hours of the night. I'm blessed to be able to work with her, and I want to welcome her onto the stage right now. Swisher, everyone.
Oh, it's still okay to hug sometimes in the workplace. Anyway, the next person I'm going to bring on, I've known for a very, very long time. One of the first people I interviewed when I got to Silicon Valley. They started a small company named Google in her garage, and I met her very early with Larry and Sergey, and we had lunch at very early Google headquarters actually, and they couldn't carry on a conversation, and she could. So I've always appreciated. So I've always appreciated her. She did just appear on the television thing I'm doing. I'm now a television star. No, you can't have my autograph. But she was brave enough to come on the first one where we're talking about issues of work and where things are going and where Silicon Valley can take responsibility. She's a really fascinating executive, and let's just bring her out here. Susan Wojcicki. So we've had a lot of interviews lately. In the past month, I came to YouTube.
Yes.
You interviewed me.
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then I interviewed you on the TV show. Now we're here. So let's just go right into it.
Sure.
I'm going to start. One thing we didn't talk about on the TV thing, and we did talk a little bit at YouTube, was Logan Paul. And I'm using him as an example of just awfulness on your platform. Why don't you just, you have, explain what you've done, and I'd really like to understand why you haven't absolutely kicked him off your platform.
Yeah. Well, to start, our platform has three main constituents. It has our users, our creators, and our advertisers. And what we've seen is that if there is someone on our platform, our creator, who does something really awful or any kind of egregious behavior, that affects everybody.
Right.
And So with Logan Paul, we've actually taken 2 actions. The first was a removal from our premium monetization, and then a hold of all of the original shows.
Right.
And then due to a pattern of really egregious behavior, we decided to suspend monetization of his.
Right.
Now, we think that's actually a pretty strong statement in itself. And then more, like, just to get away from him as an individual and talk about the platform as a whole, we actually, on Friday, announced the fact that we were going to have a new set of kind of a code for our creators who do egregious actions in terms of removal of premium monetization, that they could be removed from services, they could even be removed from trending, and watch next in other areas. And we felt like that was really important to be able to maintain the responsibility on our platform of.
Right, but again, why not just throw them off? Like, where is the, like, you have how many children? 83 children, right, at this point? You have a lot of kids. Once they do things, you
I'm not sure children is the best analogy, because like you do want to keep your children.
Yes.
But right, like I wouldn't want to throw them out if they do something bad.
Right.
But I hear you on this point. And
right.
I mean, look, we do terminate accounts all the time.
Right.
So we do have a 3 strikes rule, and if somebody violates 3 times, then we terminate those accounts, and we do that all the time. And we always try, when we think about our actions, to make sure that we're being consistent. Right. And whatever we're doing, we're applying.
That you're not consistent.
No,
right?
they might complain about that, but we try our very best to be consistent across everybody.
Okay.
And when someone does violate our strike, if they have 3 strikes, then yes, we terminate that.
Right.
The problem is when someone will do something that is egregious, but it doesn't fully violate the policy, or they get 1 strike but not 3 strikes. And so that was actually why this announcement that we had on Friday we thought was really important, is it does give us a lot more levers and opportunities to be able to implement and pull back any kind of services for creators if they are violating or doing something egregious on our platform. But basically, to answer your question, like he hasn't done anything that would cause those 3 strikes, and so we can't just be pulling people off of our platform. If we did just pull people off of our platform because
they're tasteless and vile.
Well, they need to violate a policy, and we need to have consistent behavior. I mean, this is like a code of law.
Let's get to that. Why don't you? You can always. You're Google. You can change the rules, right? Like you can just say, now we're doing this.
Yes, but like what you think is tasteless, is not necessarily what someone else would see as tasteless. And so I'm just saying we need to have consistent laws, codify that in our policies, so that can be trained and we can apply it consistently to millions of videos and millions of creators.
So that gets the idea, and you and I talked about this. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. It's just like you're running what is essentially. Do you think you're running a media company?
Well, we are a technology platform, but the output of our product is media.
But are you a new kind of media company? Would you even accept that? Because I think it's not just you, and I think Facebook is even worse. They run away from the idea of themselves as a media company, and I think I know why. Because then you have to impose values, right? We talked about this when we were at YouTube. And I think my argument to you was, at some point you have to have a set of values, and that's it. Like people don't want to pick values, because then you have to make choices, really hard choices.
Well, so we do have values, and we always have had community guidelines, and we've always said these are the behavior that we think is not appropriate, right? And so we look at what people do, and if they violate those policies 3 times, we kick them off the platform. We terminate accounts all the time, and there are many people who think they should not have been terminated.
Give me an example of someone what have they done?
Oh, there are lots of things. So, promotion of drugs, promotion of hate, violent activities, releasing people's private information, adult content. I mean, there are a million ways, we outline this on our site. These are all of the different guidelines, both to be part of our community, and we outline very clearly the strikes. So, if someone does something that is really distasteful, we look and say, is this distasteful or did it violate a policy?
Right.
And we can change the policy, and we constantly are changing, and we constantly are updating these policies.
Do you ever imagine that distasteful is enough? Because here you are, I think you're building a media company. I think you have a media company. And so it seems to me that every week you're just going to open a drawer and there's going to be another horror show for you, like no matter what, because you must be like, oh, Jesus. I think one of your employees actually came up to me and said, that used to be all squirrels and cats, and now it's a college ethics debate every week at YouTube. Like, it's like, should we do this? Should we do that? What do you do when you have this much power over people's communications, and yet, well, you don't want to kick people up. We want to be a platform, or a benign platform is how I think you all look at it.
So first of all, we want to be fair, right? So you're saying like, this is distasteful, this is horrible, and what the thing is, we need to codify what we see as distasteful in our policies, and then we need to have that be very clear so that we're not just saying, oh, look, this is distasteful and kicking it off of the platform. And then I think the other thing we need to do is consult also with experts too. So we're starting to do a lot more of understanding, sort of where do we draw these lines? And also remember, we're a global platform. And so we might have different values here in the US, but then you go to India or Thailand or Vietnam and they have a different set of values. And so we also have to be sensitive to those areas. So look, we think that having those values is very important. And that's actually why we felt like on Friday when we announced the fact that now we had a new set of services and benefits and privileges that we could tell creators ahead of time, look, if you do something egregious on our platform, these are the things that can be removed. And they always knew that they could have their account terminated.
Right. But essentially what you're doing is slowly suffocating them. I mean, that's, yes.
No, we're not slow. No,
Quickly suffocating them. No, what? Well, you take away the monetization.
Taking away the monetization is really powerful in itself because, look, it's a business, and so, and if there are content that we will remove if it violates our policies, and again, if they have 3 strikes, we'll.
So how you do this? One of the things you guys just hired 10,000. Is that 10,000 people?
Right. So we're in the process of having 10,000 people that will be looking at controversial content at Google.
So to get faster. Now, as I said to you when I was interviewing you recently, like you need 1 million people for how many trillions of videos are every 5 seconds, or it's some enormous number.
So we have 400 hours uploaded every minute.
Every minute, which is a lot.
Yes, it's
so
a lot.
That's a lot of work for 10,000 people.
Yes. Yeah. Luckily, it's not all being done by people.
So you're going to do some with computers and AI and.
Yes.
So where is that in the? How do you feel about that? Because again, the combination is still probably not enough, correct, or not?
Well, we think that the combination of that many people and the machines will really help us to be able to manage the content on our platform. And if it's not, then we will add more people and we'll also add more machines.
Okay.
And it's really important to have both because the people train the machines do that work at scale, and then the humans double check the work of the machines.
All right. So the other controversy, obviously, you got into, and then we'll move on to your other businesses. But
That's
controversies
okay.
are so much fun. And you're very good sport for it. Russia stuff.
Yes.
What have you been doing to ensure? Obviously, Facebook has gotten into more trouble for this, and Twitter. But what are you guys doing to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Again, is this a machine thing, a people thing? What happened there from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, we've looked really carefully at this, and we talked about this before. But we from our analysis of YouTube, what we've seen is there was a small set of ads, less than 5,000, and about 1,000 videos that all had relatively low view counts. So. First of all, we are, once we're aware of something, we can certainly look for that, identify that content, and remove that content. But the other thing that we have made as a change is requiring any kind of news that is state sponsored to be labeled. This is who is funding this content. And we're actually doing this across all state sponsored news globally. So whoever is providing the funding for it, it will now be labeled that way.
Right. And then, and are you worried about these next elections, or how are you? What are you doing specifically for the midterm elections or even the next presidential election here in this country?
Well, we think it's something really serious and important to be focused on and understanding. And so, I think from our systems of detection and looking at abuse, these are all areas where we're certainly looking for that type of content. And we're focused on the transparency component. And then I'm sure we're taking a number of steps too from an advertising perspective to make sure that we have the right set of rules and regulations around that.
So getting into advertising, just yesterday, Keith Weed from Unilever was talking about that idea of not wanting to advertise. And you have gotten a lot of criticism, not you in particular, but YouTube and other companies, of not wanting to be adjacent to what has been problematic for a lot of these advertisers. How do you address that idea? They really, and I know you all got attacked at Davos by George Soros, et cetera. Like, sort of, tech has been the punching bag for everyone now. How do you look at that? And do you differentiate yourself from Facebook and Twitter, or are you all in the same troublesome boat?
Well, we see a lot of value. I think there's some issues that we all are looking at, and we're thinking about how can we do better, and we're taking them seriously, like news, for example. But I also think YouTube is different in the sense that it is first of all, it's a video platform, and it's got a lot of really incredible information that people use all over the world, from an entertainment perspective to an education perspective. And actually, I was surprised to see that we do 1 billion views a day of just educational material. And so the how-to content is really an important area. And but back to Keith Weed and to advertisers, we take their feedback very seriously. We're an advertising-supported platform. We want to do the right set of things to build their trust. They're building brands on YouTube. We want to make sure that our brand is the place where they want to build their brand. And we've made a number of changes based on the feedback that we have with them. For example, our Google Preferred lineup is going to be all curated now and reviewed by humans. The second thing that we're doing is we made changes to how our partner program works. So at the beginning of last year, actually anyone could be in the partner program. Then we made a change to 10,000 lifetime views last year. And then most recently, we changed it to having to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours within a 12-month period. And so those are all examples of where we're making really significant changes because we want to be able to work with advertisers and make sure that they can come back to our platform and feel comfortable, and also provide the right set of tools and options for them to be able to be on the type of content they want, because not all advertisers are the same. Some are like, we're very brand sensitive, and some are saying, you know what, we're more focused on direct response, and we're okay with content being a little edgier.
But do you worry about that? And what is it within the you've been in Silicon Valley forever.
Sure.
Is there an ethos in Silicon Valley where they've let this go? I think I love Twitter, but it's a cesspool. Let's be honest, you're swimming in a cesspool essentially, and that's just my tweets. But it seems like Silicon Valley very much doesn't want to address that idea of growing up. Do you think that's fair or not? Some of the recent criticism.
I feel like this year we've been really focused on growing up, and we have. Google is. How old is it? 19 years old,
Yeah.
18, 19 years old. And, it's been an evolution, but I think the issues that we're seeing this year are significant, and we take them seriously, and we feel we have responsibility. And we are working really hard to figure out how do we address them, how do we build better solutions for all the different issues.
Why has that taken so long? Because I often find I deal with people and they don't understand their power, nor do they want to take the responsibility. That seems to be a persistent issue for a long time now. Or do you not agree with that? You may not agree with that.
Look, we're a platform, and when you're a platform, you and one of the great things that we've done is we've enabled so much new types of content. We've enabled all these voices that before never had an audience. We talk about the diversity of audience, the diversity of content, all these wonderful benefits that have come out of having an open platform. And so, yes, we take the responsibility really seriously, but if you're going to say we're going to go above and beyond the law and we're actually going to say here are these guidelines and we're going to outline all of these guidelines, like, you know, it's really important to figure out where are you drawing that line.
Right.
And you can imagine, like, you know, there is this continuum, right? On one side is censorship and on the other side is too much freedom of speech. And so you want to draw the line in a place that is the right place where you're enabling the, you know, great discussion, healthy points of view. But you can also go too far and censor content that really is important for the world to see. And it's a complicated and very nuanced place where that line is drawn. And I think that's one of the reasons as platforms that have really encouraged freedom of speech and encouraged openness and open source and all these, you know, all the amazing things that the web has done, figuring out, oh, we're going to draw the line here. It's a complicated, and something that has to be done really delicately.
Yes, I get that. I get that. But sometimes I feel they don't want to draw the line at all. That they don't want, and have done very well financially not doing that.
Well, we've always had community guidelines. We've always drawn that line somewhere because we have hosted content.
Right.
And as a result, you know, I think that actually has served us relatively well. You know, we had a period of flags, and users reviewed the, you know, any user can flag a content, and then it's reviewed by a set of our reviewers.
Right.
But I think what has happened is in the last year, the world has gotten more complicated, it's gotten more divisive.
Yes.
Also, like, we have gotten bigger, and the combination of all of these things coming together have meant that we need to go back, we need to look at our policies, we need to revise them. And look, it's really complicated. Like, where do you draw the line? How do you define, you know, what types of, what types of, you know, certain type of product, like harmful, like, you know, guns, for example. Like, where do you draw those lines?
You know, if you hired me, I could draw the lines. But okay.
No, I'm sure if we hired you, you couldn't draw the lines.
Oh, I could.
No, you.
Oh, I draw lines.
You do draw lines. But I think the thing that we've learned is one person alone is not enough to draw a line. That what you really need is you need to go to the experts. You need to talk to the experts. You need to understand, you know, how to do this delicately. And then every country, remember, like, we're global.
Yeah.
And so we have to do this in all of these different countries.
All right, I'm going to move on to other things. Your professional. I'm sorry to harangue you about this, but I'm not that sorry.
But we do take it very seriously, and I just wanted to make sure we communicate.
I do get that. Your other content, professional content, you have a lot of different services. Can you sort them out for me? Because you have the live, you've got Red, you've got, how are you looking at the professional content you're creating? And do you see yourself getting into a business like, I think Apple just paid an enormous amount of money for the Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman show. Are you going to wade into that? You guys have been a little, with your originals, a little smaller, or you hired an MTV executive. How do you look at that as a CEO?
So we have two different services. We have YouTube Red, and then we have YouTube TV. And YouTube Red is a service that is really a music service. We have an amazing collection of music. We have all these music videos. And then on top of that, it has the ability to watch all of YouTube ads-free with the background and offline services. And then on top of that, we've actually been doing a number of YouTube originals. So we've done about 50 YouTube originals. 50? Yes, in the last 2 years. And we started out doing shows mostly with YouTube personalities, and we've expanded above and beyond that to doing more with music. For example, we did Demi Lovato, Simply Complicated, and we did this 4-day live with Katy Perry. And then we've actually also been doing more drama and other shows. So, for example, just last week we announced that we were doing Step Up with Step Up High Water. So we're doing something with Karate Kid. We're doing a number of different shows. And so all of these shows are something that we're adding on top of this music service with Red. Then we have YouTube TV, which is really a more, I'd say, is the broadcasters with the YouTube and the online features, so that you can search everything, you can get the recommendations, you can store anything in our cloud DVR, and so those are the two services that we have.
So how do you imagine spending in the Netflix level money, the billions and billions? Do you need to buy a Netflix or buy a Spotify or something like that? How do you look at that?
Well, yeah, they're spending lots of billions of dollars,
Yes.
and
Lots, and you have a few yourself.
eight,
You all have some billions available.
well, I think our goal is to continue to increase what we're doing. So as we are building that muscle of creating content, we'll continue to do more and more. And we'll see what's successful. We'll see what our users respond to, what's driving subscriptions, what's being watched. And I think one of the really amazing things about YouTube is the platform and the data that we have, so we can actually understand like how many shows went to completion, how many drove subscription, how many drove engagement. We can look on our platform and put out content for free for the pilot and see how people engaged in that. So we see that we have 1.5 billion people coming to our site every month, and we can use that as a way to drive our users to our subscription products.
But again, you all would have been in the position to do a Netflix or an Amazon. Amazon has gone deep into it. How do you imagine that a place where you've got to go? Do you have to purchase that or just spend that in those billions of dollars? Do you see yourselves? Is that in your plan to do that? I know you're testing it, but it's small especially for a company your size.
Well, we're growing, and so far we've been really pleased with that growth. And so, I mean, you need to start somewhere. And I think if you look at both Amazon and Netflix that are spending billions of dollars, you don't just start the ground running by spending billions of dollars. You have to start with a subscription, a number of users, and from there you can build it up. The other thing, though, I would say is that if you look at different content types, they being Amazon and Netflix, have done a really good job in the category of shows and movies. And if you look at content overall, there are many other areas of content, and YouTube and online have brought new types of content that we just didn't have before on TV. So like I just talked about educational content, 1 billion views a day of educational content, music content, vlogging content, gaming content. These are all health and beauty, wellness, like yoga.
So you don't see yourself having like a giant show?
Well, so
maybe.
Well, a giant. I mean, depends what you mean by a giant show. But like we see.
I'd say House of Cards we're not supposed to anymore, but House of Cards,
sure,
for example.
I mean, we could, but I'm not sure that would further necessarily what we're trying to do at YouTube.
Right, okay.
Whereas, like, our goal is to be, a large, a leading video platform and have a large, diverse set of content. And we feel like there are all these categories that no one else is really providing a solution to, and we can be best of breed there. The shows and movies is a very competitive space. It needs to be paid for economically with a subscription service. You can't just do the subscription service starting from zero. So we've been in red for about 2 years. We've been ramping up, and I think you'll see us continue to ramp up and continue to do more content and continue to add content that appeals to our audiences.
So what would a hit on YouTube look like to you then?
Well, I think a hit would be that we would see a lot of the critical acclaim that you see with the hit. We would see high engagement. We would see, millions of people watching it. So I think all of the traditional criteria.
But not necessarily in shows and drama, that kind of thing.
No, I was talking about with a show or drama. I mean, we have lots of shows today that have millions of subscribers and millions of views and hundreds of millions of views. So we have that all happening today. We just have that in the different categories. We have that in the categories I mentioned, as opposed to a drama.
Like a big hit, like Handmaid's
House of
Tale,
Cards, to use your example.
Something like that. Would you like to have had like a Handmaid's Tale on your service? Do you ever see doing something like that?
Well, yeah, I think, sure. I mean, that would be great. And
all it takes is money and giving it to Hollywood people.
Well, it does. I think you have to figure out, what are you doing that's unique in that area, and how can you use the YouTube audience in a way that Netflix or Amazon are not using? And I think we tend to trend as a younger audience. We tend to trend music, for example. That's why something like Step Up was very popular on our platform. And also we're global. So this year you'll also see Red expand into many more countries. We're only in 5 countries right now. Now that we've finished all of our music deals, we're going to actually be expanding to a large number of countries.
How many countries?
Many, I don't know, 100.
100 countries. All right, last question, and then we'll get to some audience questions. Facebook.
Yes.
You and I have had this discussion for years. Facebook's coming for you. You're like, you always, and then you hang up on me. But they've been like,
Can I do that now?
No. Oh, Susan, you're going to be talking to me for years to come. But we talk about that. Remember, I've called you a million times. Now Facebook's going to do it now, and Yahoo tried it for 14 seconds. Are you worried about them as a video platform in a competitive way?
I mean, you always have to take your competitors seriously,
right?
But you don't win by looking backwards and looking around. You win by looking forward and looking at your customers and figuring out what do they want, how can I be better at what we do. And I look at YouTube and I look at the opportunity, and we have a really wonderful ecosystem. And so the priorities that we have for this year are some of the things that we talked about, like building trust among our advertisers and our creators, tightening our policies, building more engagement, increasing the ecosystem that we have with educational content. And so we have this amazing platform. We want to invest in that. And so I don't know what Facebook is going to do.
What do you think they're doing?
I don't know. I mean,
come on.
I don't know what they're doing. I mean, you read the press, and I read your articles about what they're doing, and I read their analyst reports. And
what would you be worried about if they did?
Well, I'm not sure I would tell you, because then they would read it and then maybe do it. But I mean,
make something up.
No, I think they should focus on what they're focused on. I think they should get back to baby pictures and sharing.
And the quote of the night. Thank you.
No, I mean, look, I'm not an expert about Facebook, and so they're experts in it, and they should do what's best for their business. And look, we should all compete for content, and I just don't. I build our business. I focus on what we need to do. I know we have a lot of things to do, and I mean, you can always remind me of all the things that we need to do, and. We're going to keep doing them, because that's the way we're going to get stronger.
Yeah, you're the CEO. That's why I remind you, just so you know.
Yes.
I'm thrilled you are, by the way, the CEO of YouTube. Questions from the audience? Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Rollo Winlock. I'm from Webster.io, and we're a video platform for business. Tons of videos being produced on the platform, and they want these videos, from a business perspective, to be out there on multiple platforms doing great work. When I tell them that I had this one-on-one conversation with you, what can you, as the CEO of YouTube, tell me that I can tell all these companies that is the future vision of YouTube for business, not so much vloggers, entertainment, all those other things?
That's a good question.
Well, I'm really glad to hear you talk about that, because I always feel this is a huge opportunity for businesses to have. In fact, I really think every business should have a YouTube page, because they can talk about their products, they can talk about their services, and that's incredibly valuable. There's a lot of, anyone who's producing the brochure, anyone who's producing a how-to manual, anyone who has customer support, which is basically all companies in the world, could really benefit on having a YouTube channel and then pointing their users there. So, our goal is to make it easier for businesses to be able to have pages, have YouTube channels, to create content, to connect with their users, and I would just encourage them to keep giving us the feedback that they need to do that job effectively.
So
we got only a few minutes. Going to ask everybody.
Okay, go. Yes.
Okay, great. Quick.
But great idea. I'm glad you're working on it.
Good idea.
Hi, Susan. You're an inspiration to me as a business role model, but you're also an inspiration to my daughters. I have 3 of them. The 9-year-old, she uses YouTube as essentially her search engine. And obviously the parent company, Google, is incredible at search, and the search always comes up good, even though there's a lot of crappy web pages on Google. When it comes to YouTube and she watches kids-oriented videos, and then the recommended list comes up, there's some really disgusting stuff in there.
She and I have talked about this, this issue, the search problem.
Yeah, it seems really bad, especially when it comes to kids. And my kid is well under 13. She's not supposed to be able to see this stuff, and she sees it all with her elementary school login, which is a Google-enabled login.
So how can you make search better, Susan? You're owned by a company that's good at search.
Yeah. Well, first of all, just for background, we have a YouTube Kids product. And so for everyone who's a parent in the room who's looking for YouTube or has questions about YouTube, I'd first point them to YouTube Kids. But then to address the question about search and how to make that more, to remove the recommendations that are inappropriate for your daughter, a couple things. First of all, with search, we're working really hard to, depending upon the topic, to be able to default to whatever are the authoritative sources. That's especially important in a topic like news, to make sure that they're getting sources from the, whoever is authoritative in that space. And then, we talked about the policies here, like also making sure that, as we go through and figure out like what's the content that needs to be removed. So, we're working through this content overall to make sure that we are making the right recommendations to users related to, what their search is too. It's hard, without actually seeing it, it's hard for me to comment on any specific area. Like we're working to make...
Within every kid's category, Curious George, Elsa, type it in, and you'll see some really gross stuff.
Yeah.
Peppa Pig.
I agree with you. It's a problem.
So, okay. Well, so I'd ask when you've done that, because we've been very focused in that area and actually removing that content or age gating it. And so if you have, I don't know if when you looked at it last, but we have been very, very active in removing the content or age gating it. Yeah. So, and then when it's age gated, it shouldn't be recommended in that way.
All right, very quick. We've got a few more.
Hi, Dan Unger with Surfer. Susan, what are your thoughts about OTT in the next few years, and where are you as YouTube focusing?
Well, I think OTT is a big area, and that's why we've been investing with the YouTube TV. I think the next generation of viewers is going to want to have the features of the search, the on-demand, mobile, cross-device, all of that functionality. And so I would just encourage most content providers to invest in an OTT strategy. So I see it as a huge area of growth for the long term.
Great.
All right, I'll try and make this super quick. First of all, It's the first time I've ever heard you characterize YouTube Red as a music service first.
Yes.
Great start. I have a real problem understanding the YouTube original strategy when you've articulated very clearly about the unique content offering that exists on YouTube and having these attributes that are rewarded, like personality and authenticity and all these wonderful, great things. To what end is it to put YouTube originals of big budget, high things on that? I know it's behind a paywall, but it's still on YouTube proper. And I just don't get to what end.
Well, the Red originals will only have the first episode or the pilot on the free service. And
but you're still on a YouTube channel, right?
Well, actually, so in YouTube, on the main page, you can go and you can actually see all of the originals in one location and browse them that way. So they are available in one consistent way to be able to search and to find within the product. But
it just seems like interspersing premium content there versus, for example, YouTube TV, which totally rewards premium content, seems, I don't know, strange.
Well, so I think the goal, when we first started this, we didn't have really any content, right? When you first started out, so having one page where you would have like 10 shows doesn't really make sense. And so it could have been that original strategy as you saw it, which was more to intersperse it, made sense in. But we have built a dedicated area just for the originals for our users to find so that the Red users can go and see, these are all the originals that we have.
Okay, very quick. Peter's going to kill me. Go ahead.
Quick question on community. So YouTube talks about community a whole bunch. And I'm wondering, Susan, could you help crystallize it by telling us how you define and think about community for YouTube?
So what we see is the advantage of a digital platform is that you can have this two-way communication. And whereas TV was really about a one-way broadcast, you can have two-way communication with online video, and our goal is to encourage that as much as possible between the creators and the fans. And so that could be the comments, live, that could be even monetization like sponsorships or buying their merchandise. We built this community tab where they can communicate with text, photos, polls, etc., so that if you're a fan and a creator and they want to ask, like, well, what video should we do next, there's a mechanism for them to do that.
So would you say in the future, the ideal state is just more and more two-way communication between creators and fans?
That's the opportunity that we see with online, is to really build that two-way communication. And we believe that in the end, that actually makes a creator be able to do a better job and be more in touch with what their audience wants. And if you're a fan and your creator hearts your comment or responds back to you, that's incredible. And so we want to give more of those types of moments.
All right, I'm going to let these last two, Peter, I'm sorry, but go ahead.
I'll answer them really fast.
Hey, so what kind of person would you groom to run YouTube after you?
Are you leaving?
Well, I'm planning to be there for a while.
Besides Kara.
Someone who, I think it's actually been more complicated than I thought. I came from the ads background, and so having that ads background has been really valuable, but then also understanding the consumer component of it, and then also the media. So I think someone who has experience in all three of those areas is really valuable. And then lastly, someone who's just willing to always be flexible and aware of what's a changing dynamic environment.
Curtis, last question.
Okay, last one.
Hi, Kurt with Recode. It's my understanding you guys have been in the running for NFL digital rights for the last couple of years.
Sorry, Kurt. Go ahead. Go. Good.
Am I allowed to ask?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Kara's my boss, so I can ask her if I. Question is, what is your why is YouTube? What's your pitch? Why is YouTube a great place for NFL streams? And what opportunity do you see for more live sports moving forward for you guys?
Well, I can't comment on any specific deal, but I will tell you why YouTube is a great place for live sports. We have 1.5 billion users who come to our site every single month, and those are just the logged in users. And when we have any kind of live streaming event, we have large number of viewers. There's an opportunity as we build out more of these engagement metrics. I mean, we just had the Tesla go to Mars. I think we had a couple million viewers. It was our second largest viewing that we had seen. All the inauguration. I mean, all of these have been large live streamed events, and I think we could reach a lot of users with any kind of live sports events, and also enable additional features for selling merchandise and also for enhanced viewing experiences.
Do you want to stream the NFL?
Sure. I mean, I would love to stream the NFL, but I can't comment on any kind of business relationships.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Susan, I really appreciate it. I'm going to come on YouTube now. I'm going to create my own channel.
Yeah, actually, so while we're here, we're waiting for you. I hope next time I get to interview you on YouTube, or you can interview me on YouTube. If you come and you start a channel on YouTube, I will come as a guest if you invite me.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Susan.
I always like talking to. He's smart, he's thoughtful, he runs a big company. He's in the news. And he also graciously came down here through 2 hours of rush hour traffic tonight. Please welcome Jonah Peretti, CEO of BuzzFeed. Thanks, sir. Jonah and I both have the same joke for the opener. You're not a Maggie Haberman replacement, but the original plan was I was going to talk to Maggie tonight, so I had a whole bunch of questions about normalizing Trump. Are you too access dependent? How much do you tweet? Do you have a tweeting addiction?
I'm an excellent reporter.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Everyone who was here earlier heard me quote you to the Facebook folks. So I'm not going to repeat that quote, but I did want to repeat a different part of this same essay. You've given me all my notes today.